everyone, and happy Halloween. My name is Sydney ASMR, and we're going to learn the origin story of Halloween. Sit tight, get comfortable, and learn a little bit. You know, when was the last time you learned something, right? Something cool. Let's learn a little bit, okay? So I've got my mouse and my monitor, and I'm going to have some pictures throughout the video so that you can visualize some of the horrors that we're going to be talking about. Just kidding, no horrors. It's actually quite a delightful origin story. But let's begin. Halloween is a holiday celebrated each year on October 31st. This year of 2022, it'll be on a Monday. The tradition originated with the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain, when people would light bonfires and wear costumes to ward off ghosts. In the 8th century, Pope Gregory III designated November 1st as a time to honor all saints. Soon, All Saints' Day incorporated some of the traditions of Samhain. The evening before was known as All Hallows' Eve, and later Halloween. Over time, Halloween evolved into a day of activities like trick-or-treating, carving jack-o'-lanterns, festive gatherings, donning costumes, and eating treats. Halloween's origins date back to the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain, pronounced Samhain. I don't know how the hell Samhain is pronounced Samhain, but let's keep going. The Celts lived 2,000 years ago, mostly in the area that is now Ireland. The United Kingdom and northern France celebrated their new year on November 1st. This day marked the end of summer and the harvest, and the beginning of the dark, cold winter, a time of year that was often associated with human death. Celts believed that on the night before the new year, the boundary between the worlds of the living and the dead became blurred. In addition to causing trouble and damaging crops, Celts thought that the presence of otherworldly spirits made it easier for the Druids or Celtic priests to make predictions about the future. For a people entirely dependent on the volatile natural world, these prophecies were an important source of comfort during the long, dark winter. So they thought that this event would make their Druids, their priests, more powerful about making predictions on the future, which is what they needed for their crops. Okay, so Halloween was seen as an event to be better farmers. Okay. To commemorate the event, Druids built huge secret bonfires where the people gathered to burn crops and animals as sacrifices to the Celtic deities. During the celebrations, the Celts wore costumes typically consisting of animal heads and skins, and then attempted to tell each other's fortunes. Okay. When the celebration was over, they relit their hearth fires, which they had extinguished earlier that evening, from the sacred bonfire to help protect them during the cold, cold, dark coming winter. Winter, 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 winter. Alright, coffee break, and a fact about Halloween. Did you know that 1/4 of all American candy sold in America throughout the year, 1/4 of it comes from Halloween? That's a lot of candy. Let's continue. By AD 43, the Roman Empire had conquered the majority of Celtic territory. In the course of the 400 years that they ruled the Celtic lands, 2 festivals of Roman origin were combined with the traditional Celtic celebration of Samhain. The first was Veralia, a day in late October when the Romans traditionally commemorated the passing of the dead. The second was a day to honor Pomona, the Roman goddess of fruit and trees. The symbol of Pomona is the apple, and the incorporation of the celebration into Samhain probably explains the tradition of bobbing for apples that is practiced today on Halloween. Wow, okay. All Saints' Day. On May 13, AD 609, Pope Boniface IV dedicated the Pantheon in Rome in honor of all Christian martyrs, and the Catholic feast of All Martyrs' Day was established in the Western Church. Pope Gregory III later expanded the festival to include all saints as well as martyrs, and moved the observance from May 13 to November 1st. By the 9th century, the influence of Christianity had spread into Celtic lands, where it gradually blended with and supplanted older Celtic rites. In AD 1000, the Church made November 2 All Souls' Day, a day to honor the dead. It's widely believed today that the Church was attempting to replace the Celtic festival of the dead with a related church-sanctioned holiday. Makes sense. They take all the fun and put religion into it. All Souls' Day was celebrated similarly to Samhain, with big bonfires, parades, and dressing up in costumes as saints, angels, and devils. The All Saints' Day celebration was also called All Hallows or All Hallow Mass. And the night before it, the traditional night of Samhain in the Celtic religion, began to be called All Hallows' Eve, and eventually Halloween. This is Halloween, this is Halloween, 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 Halloween. So now we're going on to the more fun stuff, at least for me. Halloween comes to America. The celebration of Halloween was extremely limited in colonial New England because of the rigid Protestant belief systems there. Halloween was much more common in Maryland and the southern colonies. As the beliefs and customs of different European ethnic groups and the American Indians meshed, a distinctively American version of Halloween began to emerge. The first celebrations included play parties, which were public events held to celebrate the harvest. Neighbors would share stories of the dead, tell each other fortunes, dance, and sing. Another Halloween fact and a coffee break. Did you know more people are buying costumes for their pets than ever before? In fact, in the year 2020, they spent $500 million on their pets' costumes alone, more than double than what they spent in 2010. Colonial Halloween festivities also featured the telling of ghost stories and mischief-making of all kinds. By the middle of the 19th century, annual autumn festivities were common, but Halloween was not yet celebrated everywhere in the country. In the second half of the 19th century, America was flooded with new immigrants. These new immigrants, especially the millions of Irish fleeing the Irish potato famine, helped to popularize the celebration of Halloween nationally. History of trick-or-treating, trick-or-treating, trick-or-treat, 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 trick-or-treat. Borrowing from European traditions, Americans began to dress up in costumes and go house to house asking for food or money, a practice that eventually became today's trick-or-treat tradition. Young women believed that on Halloween they could divine the name or appearance of their future husband by doing tricks with yarn, apple parings, or mirrors. Kind of like a witch. In the late 1800s, there was a move in America to mold Halloween into a holiday more about community and neighborly get-togethers than about ghosts, pranks, and witchcraft. At the turn of the century, Halloween parties for both children and adults became the most common way to celebrate the day. Parties focused on games, foods of the season, and festive costumes. Parents were encouraged by newspapers and community leaders to take anything frightening or grotesque out of Halloween celebrations, because Because of these efforts, Halloween lost most of its superstitious and religious overtones by the beginning of the 20th century. So all the fun stuff was taken out of it, basically. Halloween parties. By the 1920s and 1930s, Halloween had become a secular but community-centered holiday, with parades and town-wide Halloween parties as the featured entertainment. Despite the best efforts of many schools and communities, vandalism began to plague some celebrations in many communities during this time. By the 1950s, town leaders had successfully limited vandalism, and Halloween had evolved into a holiday directed mainly at the young. Due to the high numbers of young children during the 50s baby boom, parties moved from town civic centers into the classrooms or home, where they could be more easily accommodated. Between 1920 and 1950, the centuries-old practice of trick-or-treating was also revived. Trick-or-treating was a relatively inexpensive way for an entire community to share the Halloween celebration. In theory, families could also prevent tricks being played on them by providing the neighborhood children with small tricks and treats, mainly treats. Thus, a new American tradition was born, and it continued to grow. Today, the Americans spend an estimated $6 billion annually on Halloween, making it the country's second largest commercial holiday after Christmas. Wow, more than Valentine's Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and then Halloween. Wow. Speaking of Halloween, Halloween movies have also made a hit in the Halloween uprising. Speaking of commercial success, scary Halloween movies have a long history of being box office hits. Classic Halloween movies, including the Halloween franchise, based on the 1978 original classic directed by John Carpenter. In Halloween, a young boy named Michael Myers murders his 17-year-old sister and is committed to jail, only to escape as a teen on Halloween night and seek out his old home and a new target. Considered a classic horror film down to its spooky soundtrack, Halloween inspired other iconic slasher films like Scream, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Friday the 13th. More family-friendly Halloween movies included Hocus Pocus, The Nightmare Before Christmas, Beetlejuice, and It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. The American Halloween tradition of trick-or-treating probably dates back to the early All Souls Day parade in England. During the festivities, poor citizens would beg for food and families would give them pastries called soul cakes in return for their promise to pray for the family's dead relatives. The distribution of soul cakes was encouraged by the church as a way to replace the ancient practice of leaving food and wine for roaming spirits. The practice, which was referred to as going a-souling, was eventually taken up by children who would visit the houses in their neighborhood and be given ale, food, and money. The tradition of dressing in costume for Halloween has both European and Celtic roots. Hundreds of years ago, winter was an uncertain and frightening time. Food supplies often ran low, and for many people afraid of the dark, the short days of winter were full of constant worry. On Halloween, when it was believed that ghosts came back to the earthly world, people thought they would encounter ghosts if they left their homes. To avoid being recognized by these ghosts, people would wear masks when they left their homes after dark, so that the ghosts would mistake them for fellow spirits. On Halloween, to keep ghosts away from their houses, people would place bowls of food outside their homes to appease the ghosts and prevent them from attempting to enter. Halloween has always been a holiday filled with mystery, magic, and superstition. It began as a Celtic end-of-summer festival during which people felt especially close to deceased relatives and friends. For these friendly spirits, they set places at the dinner table, left treats on doorsteps and along the side of the road, and lit candles to help loved ones find their way back to the spirit world. Today's Halloween ghosts are often depicted as more fearsome and malevolent, and are So, there you go. That is the history of Halloween. Halloween is my favorite time of the year. I like parties. I like dressing up. I like scary things. I like candy. I like neighborhoods. I like black cats. I was also named after Sydney from the movie franchise Scream. And I grew up watching Halloween movies. My birthday is close to Halloween, so I would often celebrate my birthday on Halloween. And so Halloween is just a great time